part 2 of the time-based compensation. Stay tuned. All right, first part is time-based max electronic throttle opening settings. This function, usually you cannot enable it until the electronic throttle body feature is enabled. So if you're using an electric throttle body, that function is available. So if you only have throttle position on a mechanical throttle body, this feature is not available. So once you enable that, you go back to time-based compensation, the option is available right there. And again, it's just allowing throttle opening percentage over time. You can do up to 32 points. I've never used this feature. I'm sure it's a good way to manipulate power on the first half of the track. I imagine it is a slow way to do it versus ignition timing. I've never used it, but that's pretty much how it is right here. You can set how many, you set up your access here, 32 points, however many points you want over however much time you need. This one I just set it up 32 points over 5 seconds, 0 to 100, and you can go in here and set it how you like. So you want 100% throttle body by 145 into the run, and then you can interpolate up to 100 right there. However you want to do it in that particular instance. Again, I think this is a slow way of doing things, but I think it'll work if, I don't know in what application you would use it. Maybe if you were in some type of NHRA class that allowed electric throttle bodies where they have a throttle stop and they hold a certain throttle angle until a certain time in the run, and then they open it up. I don't know if that's allowed or not, but I think that'd be a good way to do that. All right, the second half is time-based ignition advance or retard. So in this part of it, you can add timing or remove timing over time. In this particular run, if you look, I actually added a degree for the first second and then removed it, and the car actually liked it and it went faster to the 60 foot. Most of the time people use this for power management and removing timing, and so we'll just do a little example here. We'll do 16 points first 3 seconds, and we'll start with -5, and we'll ramp it out to 0 over 3 seconds. And typically let's say by 1.4 into the run, you want all the timing out. So you do -8, -5, like that. Do -5 there. Sorry. -5. Let's go 0 like that. So at the release of the trans brake, go pull 5 degrees, and then you'll ramp it back in, and it'll run on from your main spark table after that. So that's how I usually see the time-based ignition advance being used. Typically, that's how it's being done. You can look at Stevie Fast's videos, and he'll explain how the pro mods, how they use this function with an MST box. So, but with this one, you have the ability to add timing as well. So that is time-based ignition advance and retard. All right, time-based wastegate boost control. If you see this feature is not, can't enable it. So if you go to your map options and you enable wastegate boost control. So once, I'm not going to talk about how to set it up here, but once it's set up, and usually people do it over time-based after validated launch. So if you look here, this is our wastegate boost control. So we're just going to say we're going to make this a 20, right? So by 0.25, we're targeting 20 pounds of CO2 on top of the wastegate. And so this graph is going to show up on the time-based compensation when it's enabled already. So it's already enabled. And here's the graph right here. So this is a good way they added this feature on the time-based settings so that when you're working on your tune-up for the racetrack, you can adjust your boost controller, and in the graph you'll have a target number and actual wastegate boost pressure that you can reference from a log. So if you make any changes to here, so let's say we want to ramp it up to 25, right? It's going to show up on the wastegate side of it, on the wastegate section of it. So whatever you adjust here or in the time-based section, they're both going to tie together. So that is time-based wastegate boost control. And you can, again, you can set the axis here as well if you'd like. Okay, the last part of the time-based compensation is time-based fuel enrichment. Now, usually in the run, the vehicle coolant temperature goes up, EGT goes up, boosted combinations, air intake temp goes up. All those things cause the combustion temperature to increase. So if you're doing like a Texas mile or a long stretch, usually you want to richen up their fuel ratio to get the combustion temperatures in check. But by just adding fuel here, it's not going to do anything because your closed loop target table in the closed loop section is going to pull that fuel back out. So in order to make this work, you need to enable time-based closed loop compensation. So under here, under auxiliary target table, you enable time-based. And so now when you release the trans brake, it's gonna go off this table. So if you're normally targeting a 12.2 AFR, whatever you're targeting, I would start the run at that particular AFR. And then as just going down the track, if you want to richen it up over time, you can richen up your air fuel ratio here. And then instead of going to your main primary fuel map and making adjustments there, you'll just go to the time-based section and add your enrichment in here. And so whatever the difference is from your target table that you're adding additional, so let's say you're targeting in this case we're targeting a 12.2 on our main closed loop table. But we're going to enrichen it up to, say, 11.2. So whatever the difference is, that's a 9%. So we're going to enrichen this up by 9%, right? And then we'll interpolate it all the way up, right? So that the closed loop compensation is minimized as the car is going down the track. So whatever you target on your auxiliary two-step closed loop compensation for fuel, you'll add it here on the time-based fuel enrichment to offset the difference. So that's how you use time-based fuel enrichment. If you guys like this content, please subscribe. If any of y'all need support, please email me at bnatuning@live.com. I'll leave the email address down below. Thanks for watching.